Greetings, fellow Raft players. In this video, we're going to cover a bunch of gameplay tips that should help you survive Raft with much more ease. That being said, if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, then you probably shouldn't continue this video. Gameplay spoilers might take some of the challenge out of figuring out everything for yourself. And also, Raft isn't a finished product, so some of these tips may not apply in future versions of the game, so just be aware of that. Anyway, with those two disclaimers out of the way, let's get started. Tip number 1. If you're going to play solo, don't die. Or, if you're going to die, just don't have a bunch of high quality items on you. If you're coming from a game like Ark or 7 Days to Die, you may be surprised to find out that in Raft, if you die, everything in your inventory is gone. Period. There aren't any drop tool belts or backpacks or anything like that. And Raft actually saves automatically when you die, and it's not like you get multiple save slots, so you'll be stuck having to recraft everything you lost. At this stage in Raft's development, the only way to get your stuff back if you die is if you're playing multiplayer, in which case your friend can revive you. You can also try figuring out how to make backups of your character's data files, but I kinda doubt most players would want to deal with that muss and fuss on a continual basis. Number 2. A lot of the game involves swimming around islands looking for crafting materials, and as you're probably aware, there's a shark in Raft that likes to follow you around, but actually the shark doesn't follow you around. Its path actually defaults to the raft, so if you want to explore the waters around an island without being hassled, just park your raft a little ways away from the island. The shark might follow you to the island as you're swimming there, but once you get on dry ground, the shark will swim back to the raft, and then you can freely explore the island's surrounding waters. Tip number 3. While playing Raft, you'll constantly have to stave off hunger and thirst. For hunger, it's a good idea to get multiple cooking pots up and running so you can make recipes. You'll find the recipes while exploring and while completing quests, and you should keep one of each so you can hang them on the wall for easy reference while you're cooking. The meals you make with these recipes will give you an extra food bar that depletes more slowly than your normal food bar, allowing you to not have to worry about hunger for a greater amount of time, which is extremely nice. For water, I personally like to carry around 3 water bottles at all times. And in order to fill 3 water bottles with fresh water, I would recommend 4 advanced purifiers. So if you have 3 empty bottles you want to fill, this is what the process will look like. In the early game, when you don't have a whole lot of stuff, you'll just have to do the best you can with what you have. So, grill fish, eat fruit, drink out of a cup, etc. So for tip number 4, automate everything you can. In Raft, instant gratification is rarely a thing. It takes a bit of time and work to get the materials you'll need to make the stuff you want to make, so it's a good thing to save as much time wherever you can. You can use biofuel tanks to automate fueling your engines and battery recharging stations, and you can use the electric purifier, water tank, and sprinklers to take care of watering crop plots. Tip number 5. Once you unlock the metal detector, you should always have it and a shovel ready to go. Every small island you come across will have 1 treasure chest on it, and every large island you come across will have several treasure chests. At this point in Raft's development, the only way to get titanium ore is from treasure chests, and you'll need quite a bit of titanium to make all the late game stuff you're going to want to make, including large storage chests. You can also find other hard to get items from treasure chests as well, so it's worth the time to do it, in my opinion. Even if I'm not planning on looting everything on and around a small island, I'll at least jump onto the island, grab the treasure chests, and leave. Tip number 6. When building your raft, it's a good idea to have at least a couple foundations between your stuff and the shark. This will minimize the amount of damage the shark can potentially do to your raft. And by the way, you'll want to run around the perimeter of your raft regularly to replace missing foundations. It's important to keep that buffer between your raft's main structures and the shark. Number 7. One of the problems players have been experiencing with Raft is disappearing livestock, and I've actually had it happen myself. I lost 7 animals that just seemed to have disappeared. And there's 2 ways that I think I can help prevent that from happening to you. The first way is to put the animals on at least the second deck. By doing this, it's less likely for an animal to get washed away by large waves or glitch through structures. The second thing you can do is to make sure you're not putting a bunch of random structures in the same area as the grass plots. As you can see with my farm, everything is roped off, so the animals can't come in contact with the chests or the holes in the floor for water pipes. When my animals disappeared, I had this exact same setup, but instead of these large storage containers, I had medium storage containers, and they weren't roped off. So my best guess is that the chests had something to do with the disappearing animals. Alright, let's talk a little bit about killing stuff now. Tip number 8. An easy way to kill Screechers is to just pretty much stand there, wait for it to approach with a boulder, and lead it a little ways with the bow. So just aim your bow a little ways in front of it. And once you shoot, run forward a little bit so the boulder that the Screecher drops misses you. Rinse and repeat until it's dead. Tip number 9. To kill the shark, wait for it to get within about 10 feet or so. This is about the distance where it's going to lunge at you. And when it does lunge at you, you can shoot it in the mouth with an arrow or hit it in the mouth with a spear. It's a fairly forgivable and predictable attack window, so once you get it down, you're not going to have to dodge out of the way. You can pretty much just sit there and kill it. No big deal. Number 10. Bears are a little less predictable than other hostile animals, but you'll still get the feel for them after you fight a couple. Their attacks are pretty slow, except for their lunge attack, which they'll do if you're a little too far away. So I personally like to stay close and trigger its attacks intentionally. That way I can control its behavior and attack it when I get a window. I use the same tactic for killing lurkers, which are those things that look like huge rats. Number 11. For killing warthogs, I'd recommend keeping a good distance from them. Then just wait for them to dash, strafe, and jump out of the way. Shoot it once or twice, then repeat until it's dead. Tip number 12. Collection nets are awesome. Once you have a fairly large raft and a bunch of collection nets placed, you'll be getting more wood, plastic, and palm leaves than you'll know what to do with. As far as the placement of the collection nets goes, I personally went with putting them all around the outer perimeter of my raft, and I pick up pretty much everything I come across. Number 13. Putting bird nests near the top of your raft will prevent birds from destroying the crops you've planted. They actually work much better than the scarecrow, and from what I've seen, the bird nests are actually 100% effective at keeping your crops safe. Seagulls will also drop feathers in the bird nests for you to pick up from time to time, allowing you to make more arrows. You can also kill the seagulls while they're chilling in the nests, so you can harvest them for meat and feathers. Tip number 14. Certain structures require access to the ocean, like the stationary anchor and electric purifier. Now, this might sound kind of stupid, but I definitely recommend roping off these open holes in your ship. Once you start using engines, the raft will move faster than you can swim, so if you fall off and fail to get back on in time, you'll be left behind. At that point, you can reload the game and be fine, but if the game auto-saves, you'll be stuck in the ocean and you'll die and you'll lose all your gear. Tip number 15. Sprinklers are a necessity for saving you time. It would be ridiculous to water everything that needs to be watered by hand. One sprinkler can handle 9 grass plots with this design here, but you can also use it to water other crop plots as well. I've got one sprinkler handling 8 medium-sized crop plots with this setup, and I can grow enough watermelon and pineapple to handle all my biofuel and food needs, so do with that information what you will. Tip number 16. There doesn't seem to be any limit to the size of raft that you can build, and what makes that even more interesting is that ceilings do not require foundations or pillars, so you can build some pretty ridiculous rafts if you wanted to. Be aware though that the more foundations you have, the more engines you'll need to move the raft. The more engines you require, the more biofuel and wood you'll need to run those engines, so there's a point of diminishing returns. Bigger doesn't always mean better. If you take a look at my raft, for example, it's not the biggest ship, but it's still pretty large. In fact, it would be ideal to have it a little bit smaller, I think, so I didn't have to do so much running around in it to get stuff done. Tip number 17. When you get to Balboa Island, there's a large bear called Mama Bear, and she'll probably kill you if you don't know what you're doing. This is the only place I've died while playing Raft on normal difficulty, and after reading some comment sections, it turns out a lot of players end up dying here. Pretty much every enemy in Raft is fairly easy to kill due to their predictable and oftentimes slow movement. But the trick with killing Mama Bear is to know where her range parameters are. I personally like to place the wild berries into the box to lure her to that. Then I'll make my way to these 2 rocks here. As long as you can get behind this line before Mama Bear gets to you, she won't be able to reach you. So it's as simple as shooting Mama Bear, then running behind this line, then going and shooting Mama Bear, then running behind this line. Just keep doing that until she finally dies. I'd recommend bringing 60 metal arrows, 60 metal arrows, and 2 bows if you plan on killing Mama Bear. That's a conservative estimate. Hopefully it takes you less than that. Tip number 18. Wall walking is fairly easy to do in Raft. In other words, you can walk along the contours of very steep hills and mountains, and you can even climb hills and mountains that appear unscalable. There are many reasons why wall walking is a huge advantage, like saving time or getting from point A to point B efficiently, but we won't go over all of the reasons here. Just know that you can do it. Tip number 19. If you've got a raft that's kind of rectangular shaped like mine, you'll have a much better chance of collecting more ocean junk if it's one of the long sides being pushed forward into the junk trail. So if you want to change the angle of your raft to collect more crafting materials, simply turn the raft perpendicular to the wind. I keep a streamer near my steering wheel so I can easily angle the raft to where it needs to be. Also, you don't need to have fuel or an engine to turn the raft, you just need the steering wheel. Tip number 20, this one's kind of lame. Be creative. In games like Raft, Ark, or 7 Days to Die, I personally like to try and streamline everything possible. This raft that I'm currently using was created purely from my imagination and the tools available to me. I didn't see any raft build videos or anything like that. I just made it how I thought it should be, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's still a work in progress. I still want to make outside catwalks on the outside of the second floor, and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, there are so many nuances to Raft that it would take forever to cover every little thing, so If you have any good tips that I missed in this video, please feel free to put them in the comment section and help us all out. If you found these tips helpful, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. If you'd like more content like this from the Havoc Gaming channel, a subscription would do the trick. Thanks for watching, enjoy Raft, and Godspeed.